Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us today. Just some housekeeping items. The session will be recorded. Your item or your lines will be muted. There is a Q&A option at the bottom of your Zoom interface, and so feel free to fire any questions that you have during the session. We'll also have some dedicated time at the conclusion of our short presentation for some live Q&A as well. Now, whether or not your model has large language preceding it or Anaplan model, or one could actually argue that this phone right here is a model. The outputs and insights that you're getting from these models is only going to be as good as the data that feeds it. And where that data is coming from is constantly evolving. I like to think of Anaplan as a good microcosm of that problem statement because it is that connected planning platform. You're not just sourcing from a system like an ERP or just a CRM or HRIS or ATS system or a data lake. It has data coming from everywhere. And that really is why we are excited to bring Nexadata to market. We exist to bridge the data between where the sources of data sit and how you're using that data. And as we evolve our platform over the course of time, if you join us on this journey, we're excited on how we'll be solving these problem statements really along key themes such as automation or natural language or agentic AI. And so we're excited to share the beginning steps of that journey today. My name is Hanyo Lee. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Nexadata. I've been in the planning and analytics space for the better part of 2 decades, with being with Anaplan during the early days through IPO. Prior to that, I was consulting on the Hyperion stack, and after Anaplan built out North America for a third generation tool called Pigment. In 2016, I met my colleague, Quinn Eddy, who's on the line as well at Anaplan. Quinn had just sold his first company, Star Analytics, to IBM. Soon after, he left Anaplan to start OneCloud, which some of you might be familiar with. It's a next generation iPaaS solution. It was an Anaplan partner, and it sold to Workiva a few years ago. Now, given Quinn and my past history with Anaplan, it's only fitting that we take our first steps in bringing Nexadata to market by focusing on solving the data problem specifically for Anaplan. And so we're an official technology partner of Anaplan, and as we take our first steps on this journey, what we're going to be showing you today is really step one is the journey that customers go through and giving them an elegant way to get data in and out of the platform. Platform meaning Anaplan. Step two is ensuring that that data that is coming from multiple sources has a way of being joined, mapped, and transformed before it actually comes into Anaplan. And three, maybe even broadening the definition around data to not only be for structured data, but also for unstructured data as well. And so we'll be talking about that. Everything that you see in this brief presentation is going to have a zero cost barrier to entry. You can start your Nexadata journey with us for free. The belief is that our product is strong and we're looking for more customers to adopt the platform now and grow with us over the course of time. So if you're looking for an alternative approach to moving data in and out of Anaplan, not using Anaplan Connect or some other third-party ETLs, as well as the ability to map, transform structured, unstructured data, we'd be really excited to get started with you on this journey. So with that, let me turn it over to Quinn to be able to share a little bit more about our platform as well as give you a presentation, our technology demonstration.
Great, Haniel. Thanks for that introduction. And yeah, we're going to just go through a few brief slides and give you a full technology demonstration of Nexadata. So just want to start off with a quick intro, who we are and what Nexadata does, talk about some real world use cases, especially in the Anaplan ecosystem. We want to also discuss how Nexadata AI enhances integration and data preparation. Just also, given that ADO is out there, how does Nexadata and ADO work better together? That live product demo, and then we'll wrap up and how to get started with Nexadata. So on a high level, Nexadata is a fast path to clean, unified, Anaplan-ready data. We built a no-code platform that leverages AI and LLMs so anyone can get Anaplan-ready data with ease. Nexadata maps, transforms, and validates structured and unstructured data such as PDFs and spreadsheets. And of course, we have connectors that include, of course, Anaplan and strategic technologies like Salesforce and HubSpot. As a company, we're founded in 2024. We're based in New York City. We have some customers in various different lines of business, including FP&A, sales ops, and marketing ops, or rev ops. We're a SOC 2 Type 2 compliant technology. As Hanyo mentioned, we're an official Anaplan technology partner, and we're a team with deep roots in Anaplan, both as partners, customers, and as employees. So with that, just wanted to also talk about some of the use cases. Given Nexadata deals with data, it can virtually handle pretty much unlimited use cases, but it's especially powerful in the Anaplan ecosystem. Some of the great use cases for Nexadata include mapping and harmonization of planning data, aligning ledgers and maintaining account hierarchies, automating journal entries for the financial close, vendor data normalization and data and spend analytics, expense classification to the budget, as well as just transforming data sets to be ready for model data or model ready ingestion so that you can actually have that Anaplan ready experience. Nexadata, we do use AI quite a bit in order to support our platform. AI really is a key part to drive the automation and data quality across the whole life cycle of data. Some of the key things that we do is we have natural language mapping. This allows complex rules that are actually created in plain English so that you can actually create those rules ahead of time. We can also extract unstructured data that exists in things like PDFs and reports with no manual parsing, no manual rekeying of data, and have that ready for data to be used inside of Anaplan. We also can detect things like typos or name variations and ensure consistency. One of the classic ones is all the different namings for IBM. So I.B.M might map to IBM. And we have a lot more sophistication than that, but that just gives you a feel for it. And we also things like auto-correcting data issues that fill gaps or flags outliers. All those things are on the platform to help you actually have higher quality data. Given that ADO is a key part of the Anaplan infrastructure and architecture, it's important. This is an important concept to understand how actually Nexadata and ADO work better together. At a high level, it appears that there is some overlap between ADO and Nexadata, given that they're both organize and prep data and get it ready for inside of Anaplan. However, the combination of ADO and Nexadata is particularly powerful. Nexadata has the ability to prep and harmonize messy upstream data in sources like PDFs and spreadsheets. And by leveraging AI, we're able to actually ingest and create a code-free way to actually get that data in an Anaplan-ready format. Once that data is in a clean tabular format, then ADO can actually push that data into the various Anaplan models for all those sync ups and so forth. So where Nexadata provides the AI-powered visual way to map and transform your data, ADO provides that orchestration, the scheduling and staging of that data to ensure all the Anaplan models are up to date. In summary, together with ADO, Nexadata opens up a lot of new use cases because of that unstructured data and provides an even better way for Anaplan users to experience Anaplan and all the multitude of use cases that you can take advantage of. With that, I'd like to actually get started with a demonstration. I'm going to have two demonstrations. I have to stop share and share a different screen here. I have two different demonstrations that I'd like to go through here today, and take it from there. Sorry, it's got. And let's make sure I got the right share here. Okay, so I have, as mentioned, I have two demonstrations. The first demonstration, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking data, and this could be any sorts of tabular data, but in this case here, we have order details and we have customer details. And the idea here is this is just transaction data, and we have customer data that we're going to combine with that transaction data in order to actually create a hierarchy inside of Anaplan based upon domestic, international, and strategic. They'll be strategic based upon the order volume, and that's going to be representing something like a conditional map inside of our product. So And then once we have that data, we're going to populate this list here inside of Anaplan. And as you can see here, it's an empty list, which we'll see here shortly will populate. So let's get started. So here is the home screen for Nexadata. I'm not going to go into all the aspects of the home screen here, except to point out that we have connectors, again, Anaplan being one of those connectors. We connect two different systems, either source or target. If it's a source, then we create data sets. And a data set is just a tabular data set from, let's say, an Anaplan list or an Anaplan module or Salesforce object or HubSpot list of customers, whatever that might be. The real magic actually happens in what's called a pipeline. And in this pipeline, we're going to build that from scratch here. So we're going to call this pipeline here, build Anaplan list. And we're going to take data from orders, that demo orders that we saw in the previous introduction. So at this point now, we're going to go ahead and to start transforming. At this point now, we see that raw data on the right, and we're going to create a pipeline on the left. So the first thing that I need to do actually is just simply eliminate the columns that we don't need, or basically keep the columns that we do need. So I'm going to keep my customer ID and my order total. And so in natural language, we're just simply providing the details that we need straight away. So out of all those myriad of columns that we now have just that subset. Again, that's pretty simple, but we did that using natural language. We can also do this inside of advanced mode as well. We have a whole host of different types of transformations. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to join this data with a separate set of data. We're not going to write any SQL, and we're going to say add customer details, and we're going to join it to customers. In this case here, we're going to join based upon a common ID, and we'll just simply add that transformation in there. So now we've just joined two data sets together. And of course, we could easily join other data sets together of both unstructured data and structured data. So for example, we might actually have a PDF of maybe the orders from each of these customers. Maybe we want to include that into this data set as well. That would be something that we could do in a more advanced environment. But that's, again, a part of the ability to harmonize structured and unstructured data. So let's go back now and just, again, keep just the data or just the columns that we need. Once that's complete, now we have that. Now we have all these different orders by these different customers in their respective country. But what I need to do now is actually aggregate these orders and have a total. So we'll do that just as easily as well. And we'll just simply group by my country, my company name, and sum on order total. So straight away, we're getting that aggregation component as well. So now that I've taken down these tens of thousands of records and brought this now into just a summary of the order total. So at this point now, what we can do is we can actually map this data based upon international, domestic, or strategic. So at this point here, what I need to do is I'm going to build a new mapping group, and that mapping group will be segment hierarchy, or just call it segment mapping. And the transformation, we'll go ahead and call that the same as well. And here, what I'm going to map this to is country. Again, this is going to be a very simple map, but you'll start to understand here the power when we show. So if it's not exact to USA, then it's going to be mapped to international. And if it's USA, then it'll be mapped to domestic. Okay, so that's interesting. That's a one-for-one map. But the requirements basically are that we need to also map based upon order volume. And if the order volume is greater than 20,000, then they're going to be classified as strategic. So in order to do that, we need to add a column, and I'm going to call this order total. We'll make this a number and map that to sum of order total. And as soon as I add that column, I can add a condition. These conditions are very powerful in that you can create all sorts of different relationships. So you could create additional rules, additional groups, different rules within those groups, so forth and so on. So you create these multi-dimensional conditions inside of this rule. But right now, we're not so interested in that. We're just interested in adding order total. And if it's less than 20,000, okay? We can also do this we can also do this in natural language. So if order total is less than 20,000 as well. And we can also now add in a final rule here as a wild card. If it maps to strategic, only if the order total is greater than or equal to 20,000. So like that, we have now my maps, and they're also conditionally mapped as well. And as mentioned earlier, I can create these conditions based upon the values in other columns just as easily. So go ahead and save that. And you can see now that we have strategic, international, domestic, and so forth, all mapped based upon their order volume. So let's do a couple other additional quick things here. Let's sort on country. And let's go ahead and remove, the sum order total, because we're just creating a list inside Anaplan. Okay. So now we have our list. We've taken this data, we've joined it together. We have a subset of the columns that we need. We've done quite a bit of transformation, some mappings, and we also have a segmentation of international, domestic, and strategic. So let's go ahead now and actually push this into Anaplan. So at this point here, I'm going to customize the output. I'm going to choose that location as being Anaplan dev. I'm going to choose my workspace as simply just select these items. And I'm going to upload and import. So I can also do upload and process if I wanted to, but in this case here, I just want to upload and import, and I just simply want to save those changes. And at this point now, once that's been created, I can execute this. I'm going to use the default data set, but I can apply this to other data sets and start that pipeline. And just like that, that data got pushed into Anaplan. And now if I refresh this, we now have our hierarchy straight here inside of Anaplan. So that's a good example that allows us to see the transformation in natural language, the mapping groups or conditional mapping in natural language, of course, and also as well as that direct integration if needed. And if we wanted to, back to the ADO concept, we could also land that data ready for ADO to get picked up from there. So the part two of my demo is actually we're going to go back to Nexadata here, back to the home screen, and we're going to actually work with unstructured data. And the idea here is we're going to create a template of different data sets. Maybe, for example, it's a bill. And in this use case here, there's a need to actually have legal analytics, planning and analytics of all my legal invoices, because I want to be able to actually forecast what my what my legal bills will be in the future. But it's a real headache to actually bring in those bills, the billing details, and so forth. And so the bills that we're going to bring in look like this example here. So this has been mocked up, of course, but we have different data sets here. Some of this is relevant, some of this is not so relevant. So I might build my details here. I have my my rate card down below here, but the rate card doesn't have any type of rate. Then I have some disbursements and charge summary, maybe not so interested from a planning perspective because those are one-offs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this data and I'm going to bring it straight into Nexadata, and then we can actually get it ready. So it's Anaplan-Ready to bring in. So let's get started here. So I'll come here, I'll bring in an unstructured data. I'm going to create this new template, and I'm going to create it from scratch. So I'm going to call this here legal analytics. And I'm going to choose a file here. This is just a fictitious summer bank. And I'm going to submit this upload. So basically what's happening here is it's uploading this data set. And it's going to actually take that content that you just saw in the PDF, and it's going to structure it into nice, neat, clean tables here that we can then start to use. As I mentioned earlier, this is a template. It's a reusable template that we can have. And then once that data comes in, let's say on a monthly basis, comes in maybe by way of email, comes in by different updated content, it will automatically process and then automatically be pushed into, let's say, a target like Anaplan. So setting up that template can also sometimes take a little bit of time as it's actually parsing and reviewing that data. But as we can see now, we actually have that data set here. As mentioned earlier, some of this data is interesting and some of this data is not so interesting, but at least it's separated out in separate tables. So this one's actually quite interesting to me because this has the invoice details. But as you notice, there are actually no columns. So I'm going to go ahead and create some columns by just pivoting this and select the columns that I want inside my data set. This here is the discount, not so interested in that, so I'm just going to go ahead and discard that. This right here as well is just my remaining amount due, not so interested in that. And I'm not so interested as well in the banking details. We'll get rid of that. But I am interested in the billing details. And I'm also interested here in the column type and making sure that this is also set correctly and that this is set to decimal like that. So now I'm bringing this in as billing details. And I'm also interested here as my rate card. There's one more thing, I make this my main table, and this is not my main table. The rate card here has the timekeeper, and the hours and so forth, but no billing details. We'll fix that in the transformation. So go ahead and tell it, okay, the amount is going to be currency, and the hours are going to be decimal. And then everything else here, we can just go ahead and discard. We don't care about that. So now we have our rate card, we have our billing details, and we have our invoice details. We'll go ahead and save this table, and we'll call this billing analytics data set builder, or DSB, and we'll go ahead and choose billing details, and we'll start that transformation. So straight away, we have the billing details, and off to the right, we have the invoice date, invoice number, and timekeeper. So it's starting to really come together. And at this point now, we can actually start to do those transformations. So the first thing that what I'm interested in doing here is joining my rate card. So I'm going to join and add my rate card. And the data set that I want to bring in is rate card. And I want to map that, or use timekeeper basically as the common key, and we'll put that as a right join. So straight away, we bring that in. We have the amount, the hours, and the timekeeper. But as I said earlier, we actually don't have the rate. So we're going to go ahead and actually add that as well. So we're going to insert a column. So add bill rate, currency. And this is going to be after timekeeper and calculated. And we could do this in natural language, but just for the case here, I'm going to just do this like that. And we'll go ahead and so now we've just calculated that bill rate. And now at this point, we can also now start to remove additional columns But another key thing is I want to take those billing details and I want to map those to different categories for my planning and analytics, for my legal analytics. So I also have a mapping group here that's already been pre-created, and I'm going to map that to my legal services mapping. And I'll map that to my description. And so here, basically, if it finds any of these keywords, it's going to map to these values here. So it's a great way to take this unstructured data and even further structure that content. So now it's reportable. So go ahead and save that. And you can see off to the right here, we now have things were crossed out or things were replaced with classifications that are now usable inside of, let's say, a planning and reporting environment. So I think you can probably start to piece this together. We now have tabular ready data ready for Anaplan or ready for any type of downstream analytics that now can be reusable. And as further next steps, we can convert that to a data set. And then, like I illustrated earlier, I can create that connection right back to Anaplan. So with that, I have about 3 minutes left. I just wanted to spend a little time here, just also bringing back to the presentation, and just let you know how you can actually get started here with Nexadata. So first off, as Hanya mentioned, we do have a free version. You can sign up directly from our website by just simply going to nexadata.com, click on pricing, click on pricing, and then choose the package that would meet your needs. As Hanya mentioned, that free edition is free for you to get going. Even today, we'd love to have you sign up. Love to get as many hands on the keyboard and start to have you experience what we're seeing and what our customers are starting to see here with Nexadata. It's also important to know that we don't license by user. We actually license based upon consumption. So a consumption-based model is actually really how much data gets processed. And with our free edition, for example, you get 5 Nexadata credits. That's how we measure that. And a Nexadata credit is worth about 10,000 records. So in summary, you would get about 50,000 records per month to use with Nexadata. And of course, as your use grows, then of course you can grow into additional licenses. And upgrading between different licenses is very easy, just a matter of actually signing up and moving forward with your overall as your needs grow. Bottom line, we really want to make this easy for people to get and use Nexadata and make it as frictionless as possible so you can get as much value and start to really enhance the overall data experience that you're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. So with that, I think we actually have a few questions that have come in. We might go over maybe a minute or two, but just want to make sure that we have time for any additional questions. So thank you so much.
Well, Quinn, while you were weaving through your presentation in 29 minutes flat, I was able to answer the questions that came through. Clearly, you've done this before, so well done there. So thanks everybody for taking the time. We really appreciate it. The recording will be available to you all. We'll be sending that over to you, and we look forward to hopefully engaging with you future. Thank you very much, everybody.